Let me share with you 3 of my best all-time driver videos. You know, driving doesn't have to be that complicated, especially when you get some of the secrets that I'm going to share with you here. Let's go and get started. Hey guys, awesome to have you here today. I'm going to give you some great tips to help you start hitting your drive more accurate, more solid, and a little bit farther. And I'm going to walk it through in the basics, let you know some things that took me a lot of time to figure out and are really going to help your game. So first, let's go over alignment with the driver. Now, first off, we can kind of imagine our target line. What I like to do when you're practicing your driver on the driving range is just put some kind of stick, or you could put down another club, point it toward the target in the distance where you want to hit. Now, most players, as they begin to play golf, tend to struggle a little bit with a slice. So that means that their right shoulder, their right arm, and their body are kind of coming over the top. I'm exaggerating here so you can see this is not this extreme usually, but it's coming over the top, outside, and then that club is kind of wiping across the ball this way with the face open. And that causes the ball to start either straight or maybe even a little bit to the right, and then it really slices off well to the right. Now the tendency there, because the ball keeps on slicing to the right, is to line up farther and farther left. Well, that just exaggerates the problem, where now we're going to start coming more over the top to try to get the ball more to the left. It's going to slice even more. So the farther left you line up, the more it's going to slice. What you'll notice with pros is that typically they're going to be somewhere close to parallel with their target line. What I recommend is to close your stance just a little bit. Have this front foot a little bit more to the right. It serves 2 purposes. Number 1, it's going to help you come more from the inside and get more of that draw. Now you'll learn to release the face. And number 2, as you swing, you kind of imagine this driver's on a hula hoop, or swinging on a hula hoop here. As that club starts to move back up, it actually moves a little bit more to the left because you're hitting driver on the upward swing. So by lining up a little bit farther to the right, now as you start to swing back up, your club's actually moving pretty square to the ball. So set down this alignment stick. And one of the keys with top speed golf is you have to train things a little bit different. I like to go in the extremes. We'll practice this variability training. I want you to line up one where your feet are way to the left, make a swing, and this is on the driving range, see where the ball goes. Then line up to the right, way to the right, swing one there, still try to hit it toward your target again, and then notice what that does to the flight of the ball and the curvature of the ball. Let me go ahead and give you an example of those. This first one I'm going to line up to the left. Naturally, you're going to see this ball wants to start slicing a little bit more. So you see that ball started to slice way out to the right. Terrible shot, really started to go over there, and that's going to be just in the right rough. Now I'm going to do the opposite here. I want you to go back and forth doing this for 10 drives. Don't worry about hitting good shots, just notice what happens as we do this. Now I'm going to line up to the right. Because my target's to the left, naturally I start to roll my hands more and get a bit more of a draw. So now that ball curved to the left, and again I'm exaggerating here. That's in the left edge of the fairway, but by changing my alignment, instinctively it's much easier to get a draw, because you know, subconsciously you just know, oh, I got to release that club face. So practice that out on the driving range. Alternate 10 shots, one way to the left, one way to the right, one way to the left, one way to the right. Then from there you can kind of fine tune, find that perfect alignment for your individual swing that helps you to get the ball to go straight. All right, so now let's move to ball position. This is really critical. If I want to drive far, if I want to hit the ball really far, I need to be catching that ball on the upswing. Not a lot of loft on a driver, and essentially what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get this club moving on the upward swing and de-lofting, so it's almost like a knuckleball. The ball starts to spin this way and knuckle through the wind. That's the visualization that you have. In reality, it's always going to have some backspin, but that's what we want to be picturing in our mind. So to do that, to get the most distance here, I want to tee the ball up fairly high. The higher you tee it up, the more potential you have to hit it on the upswing, the more potential you have for distance. That's why you'll notice long drive guys tee the ball way up in the air, really, really high, so they can really hit up on it. I want you to tee the ball up at least a half a ball over top of the driver head. I'm going a little bit more exaggerated here just to kind of show you what I mean. Play that ball at least where, if you're looking at it from face on, it's going to be somewhere around the left heel all the way up here to the middle of the left foot. I don't want to get this ball way back in my stance, or I'm going to tend to hit down on it more. I may hit some good shots. This is more of a conservative approach. If you just want to get one in the fairway, this might be good. But if I really want to get some good distance, I'm going to play that ball up in my stance. As that club swings, you can imagine the bottom of the arc is here, and it's actually working back up as I'm actually hitting into the golf ball. So let's try that out. Put it up in your stance. Remember, line up a little bit to the right here, and then I'm gonna work on hitting kind of a high top spin knuckleball is what I'm gonna visualize, so that ball really penetrates through the wind and gets my maximum distance. Let's go ahead and give it a whirl. There we go, crush that one right down the middle. Let's take a look, that's about as good as I can hit one there. Let's take a look at the flight scope numbers now and see what my angle of attack was. So in flight scope, it's telling me that that shot was positive 2.8 on the upswing, meaning my club is moving up 2.8, 115 miles of club head speed, 301 yards, 300.9 yards of carry, 334.3 on the drive. I can't do much better than that. All right, so now we got to get some distance. It doesn't matter how straight, how good our alignment is, if we're hitting on an upswing. If we can't swing that club pretty fast, we're not going to hit it very far. PGA Tour average is about 113 miles an hour. LPGA Tour average is about 96 miles an hour, and I think the Senior Tour, Champions Tour, those are the 50 and over offers, are swinging about 106 or 104 on average. I can't remember the exact number there. So that gives you a good idea of kind of where you should be if you're an elite player. But the big key here is, no matter where you're at, we can make some technique changes that are going to help you to speed that up. The first one is going to be how much I turn my body. So if you watch really good, longer players that hit it pretty far, they're going to let their hips, their shoulders, and their arms go really far back. So if I stop my swing here, and this is as far as I go back, my shoulders haven't turned very much, my hands haven't gone very far back, and I only have from here to where my hands come at contact. So I only have from here to there to accelerate this club. This very short amount of time I can move my hands. If I can let my hips, my shoulders, and my arms go farther back, now I'm creating more room to accelerate the club. The more room you have, the faster you're going to swing if you put out the same amount of effort. So unless you're really big, really strong, you're the kind of person that can throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, slam dunk, on a basketball court, I would recommend going a lot longer back. Even if you can do all those things, if you go longer back, you're just going to get even more distance with that. So let's do a drill here. Now we're going to go ahead, take your stance, put your arms out to the side, and I want you to practice rotating your body until your arms are kind of pointing what would be behind the golf ball. So I'm setting up here, my arms are turning behind the golf ball. As I come on through, now I'm letting this right foot come up, I'm letting my hips pivot through, my arms will be turning past the golf ball here, and then I'm coming to my good full finish. So it's going to look like this as we do this drill, and that just gets your body loosened up, gets you making that good full turn and really hitting it hard. So as you do that, 20 or 30 reps, you're going to feel that same feeling, that free-flowing feeling, then incorporate that with your actual driver. Now make some practice swings, another 20 or so practice swings, getting that good full turn, both back and through, then you're ready to hit some shots. On this one, I'm really going to focus on that big turn, and let's see what kind of swing speed we can get. There we go, not quite as solid as the one before, but I'll still take that. Felt like I swung pretty hard on it. Let's see what kind of miles per hour we had. All right, my club head speed is 118.5, very happy with that. 284 carry, it went a little bit lower, really ran over the hill and got 321 total distance. All right, so the final piece here, we got to release this golf club. The natural tendency, what I always did when I first started to play, what I see basically every golfer, I've seen thousands of golfers in lessons, and every single one of them has the natural tendency when they first start to play, which is as you get from the top, you want to hit this ball really hard with a lot of speed. So we start to push the club, to cast the club early, and what ends up happening is we lose this angle called lag in our wrist. We burn all that speed up back here, and then when we get to the ball, the club's actually slowing down. What we want to have happen is we want to actually increase this lag as we start down, get a good sharp angle here between our club and our arms, and then from there, we have to release this club out in front. So I want you to do a really easy drill here to get familiar with that release and start to get that speed where you need it, which is right at the golf ball. So I want you to just go ahead and take a half back swing. Imagine this is our downswing here. And I want you to get this sharp angle between your hands and arms. Now one key is I don't want this club pointing straight up and down. I want it to be a little bit flatter from here. Some people call this getting into the slot. Really key to being able to hit solid shots over and over. So I get in the slot here, I have this nice angle of lag, and then from there, I want you to open your hips. Go ahead and let your feet rotate, your knees rotate. I'm gonna open my hips, and I'm gonna release that club to where now I've gotten rid of all these angles. That's what we call the straight line release in our top speed golf system. And I've let that club whip on through. So a couple practice swings, halfway back, and then go to the release. Hips, shoulders, arms, everything's released in front. Do that about 10 or 15 times just to get the overall feel of that motion. You don't have to try to do it fast. You don't have to do anything fancy there. Just get that feel. Then we're going to incorporate that same feel as we're making a full practice swing. So your full back swing, I'm going to feel that lag. I'm going to feel the club release in front. If I do that, now I'm going to get that whip action happening right at the golf ball. So here, a great way to feel this and a great way to train differently so that actually you get the feeling faster is exaggerate both extremes. As you start down, cast the club and then try to swing through. So it'd be something like this, and you'll see how I don't have very much speed. And then the next one, get a big angle of lag, release the club in front, and now you can start to hear that whipping on through contact. So 15 to 20 practice swings alternating. One cast, one good lag one, and then release in front. If you always visualize releasing in front of the golf ball, that makes things so much easier as you go out to play. So that once you get comfortable with that, let's go ahead and hit a couple more, or we'll go ahead and hit on some on the range. I'm gonna go ahead and try to really rip one. I may not be the straightest on this one, but I'm gonna try to see if I can get it the farthest of any of them that I've had so far. Let's give it a whirl. Oh, a little to the right. Still a good drive. I don't think I'm gonna beat my last one. I killed the one before that, or 2 swings ago. So let's see what the flight scope says. Club head speed was 117.4, 290 carry, 320 total distance. Hey, hitting it well. Follow those keys. Get the right ball position, get your alignment so you can work on those fades and draws and then straighten it out, and then get that lag and release in front. It's gonna make driving so much more easy. All right, we all wanna step up to the golf ball on a nice par 5 like this and be 100% positive that our golf ball is going right down in the center of the fairway, crushed. Well, in this video, I'm gonna talk about some of the misconceptions out there about hitting it straight. How actually hitting purposely fades and draws, learning how to shape shots, and this is for 20 handicappers, 25 handicappers, beginning players, all the way down to scratch players. If you learn to hit these shots and go over the real deal that I'm gonna talk about in this video, you will hit the ball straighter. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, I'm not gonna dumb it down, I'm not gonna simplify it. You're gonna get the real instruction here, and if you apply this to just one range session, I promise you, you will hit the ball straighter. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's talk about how to straighten up these drives. Now, one of the worst things that you can do that's really gonna make your drives not only shorter, but more errant, more crooked, is if we try to tighten up and guide our swing. So what ends up happening is we kind of go in this deadly spiral of we hit a bad shot. So let's say we make a nice swing, we're feeling confident, and we slice it over into the water here. Or let's say we snap hook it almost out of bounds or into the trees. Well, in the next hole, or maybe on this hole if we have to re-tee, we automatically think, all right, well, I'm gonna tighten up. I'm gonna try to guide this. I'm gonna try to steer this club through contact a little bit more because I don't wanna hit another bad shot. And what happens is you end up shortening up your swing. We don't make a full backswing. When we don't make a full backswing, now we're gonna lose distance. And when we tighten it up, even though it feels like it may be in more control, what ends up happening is we second guess it, we guide it. We're using our conscious mind to try to steer it rather than letting our subconscious and our practice let that go and release through the shot. So you hit one bad shot, and that's bad enough, that hurts your score. But then we tighten up the swing, we lose some yardage, and our consistency and how straight we hit our drives doesn't even get any better. So what do we do from there? We hit another drive that's not very good. It's a little bit shorter and not very straight. And then we say, okay, well, I didn't shorten up enough. I gotta go even more controlled, guide it even more, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. Until eventually one day we say, the heck with it. I'm not even gonna try to guide it anymore. You get to the range, you start to free yourself up a little bit, and then you start to hit some better shots, and it gets a little better, just to repeat the cycle all over again. So let's talk about how to break this cycle. I'm gonna give you real step-by-step drills to help you do this, not just ideas and theories. You go to the range, you follow these drills, you will start hitting them straighter. Now the first thing is, whenever we're hitting this golf ball, we need to release through the golf ball. One of the worst ideas that we can have is try to hit at the golf ball to guide it or steer it down the fairway. What I wanna do is I wanna go ahead and open up my body. I'm gonna have my hips almost 45 degrees open when I'm at contact. I'm gonna have my chest 20 or 30 degrees open at contact, and then everything is gonna be releasing from there to what I call the straight line release. So from contact and through the ball, out to here to in front, my hips, my shoulders, everything is opening up. My hands and arms are all pointing to about that 45-degree in front position. That's what we call the straight line release in the top speed golf system. So if I go ahead and put a golf ball in front of the ball that I intend to hit, about 4 feet, that's the point that I'm trying to release towards. So if I tee up another one here, the last thing I want to do is try to steer or guide or hit that golf ball down the middle. I'm going to go ahead and swing freely on this golf ball. Let me go ahead and see if I got this on my target line. Yeah, it looks good right down the left side. I'm going to go ahead and swing freely toward this golf ball and let the club do the work. I'm going to trust that the releasing of this golf club is going to allow me to hit it straight. So I'm letting my body open up, I'm letting this club release through the golf ball, and let's see what happens here. See if I can get one down the middle of the fairway. There we go, right down the center of the fairway. Nice little fade. Just ended up in the right center, right side of the fairway. Great shot there. So I didn't try to guide that or steer that or have it go, you know, any control on that. I just let it go ahead and swing. I trusted that if I let this club release in front of the golf ball, it's going to make things a lot easier. Now, we can't just stop there. That's the overarching idea. We can't control and guide. We have to free up the swing, let it release on in front like a straight line release. But from there, now we need to learn to control the face and the path. So am I swinging right and letting the face release to hit a draw? Am I swinging a little left like I did on that one and letting the face stay open to hit a fade? And if we practice these, we're actually going to get better and better and better the more we practice them. It doesn't take a ton of time, just a couple of quick range sessions, and you're going to see a noticeable improvement. So let me grab my flight scope here and let's talk about some of these angles that we're going to look at to control face and path. Now what I want to see here is I want to see if I'm going to hit a fade, I want my path or the direction I'm swinging to go a little bit to the left. And I want my face to be slightly open as that's happening. Just a little tiny bit goes a long way. If I want to play a draw, I want to come from the inside and let that face release and turn on over. Now here's the thing, everybody knows that, but everybody's been practicing it the wrong way. All the motor learning research out there has shown some really good secrets that we can do to speed up our practice and our improvement. If you want to hit it straight, what we have to do is actually practice something called interleaving or random or variable practice, meaning that I'm purposely going to try to hit a draw and then I'm purposely going to try to hit a fade. Now we're going to tie that in with a feeling of releasing the golf club rather than steering it, and it's going to make it even easier. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and just set up a tee on the ground. And before I ever hit a golf ball, I'm just going to swing with my left hand only. Now again, this is going to help me to relieve some of the tension in my swing. I'm not really going to tighten up and try to guide that through there. I don't have a lot of strength when I'm just swinging one arm only. So I have to get the momentum of the club working kind of inside out. So I can see this club's coming from the inside and then releasing on over. Look how the club face is going to turn all the way on over. Now like it's almost pointing back down to the ground. I'm really exaggerating here. That would be a big draw type swing. So what I'm going to do is just put my right arm behind my back and I'm going to do 5 swings, really big draw, come from the inside, let that face release. And I just want to let the momentum of the club do the work. I'm not trying to steer it and turn it over. I'm trying to position myself in a way and let the momentum of the club swing in a way that it naturally is going to go ahead and turn on over. And I'm visualizing that ball starting out here and really drawing back to the left. Now it's really important to do these practice swings first and get the feel of that kind of effortless draw before we go into actually hitting a golf ball. If we rush straight into hitting a golf ball, we're going to tend to just do what we've always done. So 5 swings hitting that draw with our left hand, same thing with the right hand. 5 swings, right arm only, same thing. I'm letting that club come from the inside and I want to feel the momentum of the club rolling on over. Look at the face again there, really turning over. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do 5 of these swings where I really focus on clipping the tee and I'm letting the momentum of the club turn on over. Now if you do one and it feels like, oh man, I felt like I was going to fade that one, go ahead and do another one until you get 5 good ones. So here, when I make this swing, that one felt like a nice draw. The one before, I felt like I left the face open just a little bit. Now you'll be surprised how good your feel is. I bet you know immediately if you're going to hit a fade or a draw just by what you felt when you're swinging and clipping that tee. It's pretty amazing that your body is that in tune, but it really can be. So we're going to do 5 good left arm, 5 good right arm. And now we're going to go ahead and set up this ball and try to have that same free-flowing feeling. And I'm going to try to hit a nice draw here kind of around the corner on this par 5. Let's try it out. There we go. Now I took that one right around the corner there, started a little left, went even a little bit more left. That's perfect. And if we look at, again, we're not trying to hit these dead straight yet. That comes with a little bit more practice from this. But that one, we'll see my path was a little bit inside out, 1.6 to the right. And because I went left, I went ahead and released that face even a little bit more. My face was 5 degrees to the left. So my face is really closing down or releasing, like we talked about, in relationship to my path. So you're gonna do 5 practice swings, hit a couple balls until you really get one to turn over quite a bit. I don't wanna hit a 2 or 3 yard draw. I really wanna get that thing turning on over. Now from there, the cool thing is, now your body starts to have a little bit of a muscle memory. I know muscle memory isn't really the right word, but it starts to build a little bit of coordination with hitting that draw. The way that you can mess this up, some of the things you want to guard against, I don't want to hit just a little tiny bit of a curvature, and I don't want to skip over the drills and rush through them to try to get to the end. We got to really take our time hitting these draws, then we're going to hit the fades, then we'll be able to straighten it out. Now the second piece on there, exact same thing, get rid of the golf ball. Now we're going to do fade swings. So now I'm going to feel like I swing a little left. So my body opens up. Again, I'm releasing on out in front, but I feel like as that club releases, so you can see the club shaft itself is releasing to our straight line release, but the face, instead of it really turning on over, is going to go ahead and stay a little bit more open. So the face is coming a bit more this way. Now this usually isn't too much trouble for most players. Most players tend to cut the ball a little bit too much, but we're going to still practice this. A little bit goes a long way. So if you start to hit a decent amount of cut, then you can really tone it down. So again, I'm going to the straight line release. I'm just feeling like I'm swinging a little left. And when that club shaft releases, the face is just staying a little bit open. So again, I'm going to do 5 what feel like they'd be a nice fade with my left hand only. Then I'm going to do the same thing with my right arm only. 5 what feel like it would be a nice fade. I'm not trying to guide it. I'm not trying to steer it. I'm trying to get the feeling of the momentum of the club moving through impact correctly. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and try to hit that nice fade out there. Lining up a little bit left, letting that club release on and out in front. I'm not steering it at all. There we go, and cut it right back into the middle of the fairway. So we'll see on this one, if I look on my flight scope, I should see my path or the direction I was swinging a little more left and my face a little bit more open. So my path was almost 9.8 degrees left, 10 degrees left. My face was 4.1 to the right, or meaning it's open to the direction I was swinging. So those are all basically just a big fancy way of saying, look, if you try to hit it straight and you try to guide it, it's never going to work. That's not the way that you can get really straight and accurate in golf. What we have to do to get straight is give up our feeling of control. Get used to letting the momentum of the club head hit some draws, the momentum of the club head hit some fades. So now I've found both ends of the spectrum, and now it's time to tone those down and get the straight ones here. So we got to really spend a little bit more effort getting ready for these. Now we're ready for the straight shots. Same thing, I'm just going to use 2 hands this time. So take the ball off the tee. I'm using this tee, and now I'm going to feel like I'm swinging squarely and releasing the club to the straight line release. It's not open like my fade. It's not really closing down a ton like my draw. It's just releasing at about a 45-degree angle there for the nice straight shot. So again, I'm going to swing 5 times, and in my mind I'm thinking, okay, what's going to feel like a nice straight shot? And I'm going to clip that tee. Okay, that to me felt like a little bit of a fade. So I need to go ahead and release my hands a bit more, let the momentum of that club roll on over a bit more, and you'll be surprised how accurate you are at this. Let's try another one out. There we go, that felt like a nice draw. So again, while you're on the driving range, making a few practice swings, I don't want to throw the golf ball down there and hit golf ball after golf ball after golf ball, because my tendency will be to tighten up and try to control. I got to clip those tees to let loose and feel like the club head is swinging freely. So now I'm finding that middle zone. Let's see if I can hit a fairly straight one here. Little bit left on that one. So again, when I felt like I released it, I just did a little bit too much. And you may find that same thing for yourself. It's not saying that every single one is going to be dead straight when you first start this, but you're going to hit most of them straight after you get a little bit more practice with it. So let's give another one a whirl. There we go, and that one was straight as a string, maybe 2-3 yards of fade on it, and it felt pretty good. So that's the real secret there. Everybody wants to rush right into hitting the straight shot. We've got to learn to control this club and how it releases. If I can work on this individually with each arm and get the momentum swinging in the right direction, now it's going to be very easy to find the center of the fairway. Try these drills out. I guarantee you, you'll like where you end up at the end of these if you follow my directions. Now, if you're struggling to hit your driver straight, there's a few really basic, very simple tweaks that you can make to start becoming a whole lot more consistent, get a lot of power, and have a lot of fun when you're hitting the big stick. Let's go ahead and get started here. Now, what I see most players do when they hit the driver is a lot of times they're trying to hit at it with their hands and their arms. They'll stand up out of their posture, meaning that their chest kind of goes back and the hips move toward the ball, and then we end up kind of throwing and flipping the club at the golf ball, and that flipping action gives a ton of inconsistency when you're hitting your driver. To add insult to injury, your driver is going to have the most curvature on it. So if you're hitting your wedges, if you make the exact same swing and you make the same swing with the driver, because there's not very much loft on here and because the ball's coming off the face a lot hotter, you're going to get a lot more curve. So it's really important that we get these few fundamentals down to make things easy and to get really consistent with it. So number one, like I talked about, we got to stay in our posture. What I want you to do is actually sit up a little bit taller at address. That seems kind of counterintuitive because if I want to stay in my posture, I should be bent down more as I'm coming through here. But I want to start taller so that I can start to work down and use my legs at the end of the backswing and the start of the downswing. Here's what I see most players do is they start really bent over. So they're very low to the ground, they kind of hunch forward like this, a lot of knee bend, and then as they swing, they stand up this way and they get taller, and I want to reverse that order. I want you to stand nice and tall at address, and then as you start the downswing, feel like your weight kind of transitions back to your heels, almost like you're going to fall over this way, and at the same time, get those knees to bend. Get the rear end, almost imagine like there's a wall behind you, and you're going to slam your cheeks into that wall as you start clearing out of the way. That's that powerful move, almost like you're a shortstop, and it's going to allow you to stay in your posture as you're making your downswing. So let's go ahead and try that out here. I'm going to stand a little bit taller, and then I'm going to get into my posture more in my downswing, and it's a lot easier to do that. All my momentum is going to be working to keep me in posture rather than me wanting to stand up out of it if I start too bent over at address. Let's give it a whirl. All right, so there I was able to keep my posture a lot better, get my momentum of my body kind of working down and through that shot as I'm coming through there, rather than starting low and then standing up. Now, when we also stand up, our shoulders get way too level. That's the second piece. So if I stand up, my shoulders get very level with the ground, and now I kind of have to throw my hands and arms like I was talking about just to be able to reach the golf ball. What you're seeing the great players do is they don't rotate their shoulders level with the ground like this. They actually are tilted forward and they rotate their shoulders on an angle, and that allows them to get a lot of speed when they're doing this. And the reason is, every time you throw something, that's all a golf swing is. I'm taking this club and I'm throwing it at the golf ball. Every time I'm throwing something, I'm going to release that level with my shoulders, right? So if I'm pitching and I want to throw a pitch that's overhead, I'm not throwing it this way where my arm is perpendicular to my shoulders. I'm actually throwing it this way. So anytime you want to throw with power, your shoulders and your arm have to be roughly in the same angle. If you see a pitcher that throws sidearm, they're doing the same motion as the normal overhead pitch. Their shoulders are this level. If you see a pitcher that goes kind of low and releases it like this, the shoulders are tilted that way. The same is true in tennis. The same is true if you're hitting a slap shot in hockey. The same is true for golf. But what I see a lot of players do is they get way too level with these shoulders, and now everything's very awkward. My hands and arms are trying to throw on a different angle than what my shoulders are tilted to. What I want you to do is go ahead and tilt those shoulders as you're coming through. Now that I get these lined up in the direction that I want to throw the club, it's so much easier to get behind the golf ball, release that club through the golf shot and just make it really athletic and really natural. So notice here when I hit this next shot, how my shoulders as I'm coming through the shot aren't level. They're very tilted, and that allows me to feel like, here's the sensation that I have, that I'm just throwing this golf ball, or this golf club at the golf ball, because everything is in this line now. Let's go ahead and try that out. There we go, that one felt really good. Nice solid shot. But there's another piece to this, there's a third piece. The first two things are gonna make a world of difference in getting your body in the right position to be able to play good athletic golf. The third piece is squaring up that club face. Now there's a specific way that you wanna do this. I don't wanna flip my hands and wrist like this to square up the face. Now that did close the club face, but again, I get that very inconsistent cast or flip. I want to make sure that I square the face up the way the pros are doing it. So I have a bunch of lag, and then I release that lag out in front. And I have a great drill that's going to teach you how to do this. It's called the tennis racket drill, where I go over the exact motions that the wrist is going to use to be able to square that face up right. That's the third piece. I'm going to play a preview of that video here in 1 second. Once you see that preview, you're going to see these little round, what they call cards. And if you click on that, you're going to be able to get instant access to that video, where I'm going to teach you some of the secrets on how to square up the club using the wrist. If you don't see those cards, don't worry. Just go ahead and click in the description down below. There'll be a link there too. And I can't wait to share with you this tennis racket drill. It's going to help you play a whole heck of a lot better. Let's go and get started right now. Good player problems. We're going to talk about shallowing that club shaft out as we're starting down, as we're doing this rotating of the face that we worked on in the last video. As we start this downswing, what you'll see with basically all of the top players is, instead of coming kind of over the top and letting the hands come out away from their body, letting the club come out away from their body, again coming down steep into the ball and then having to open up, kind of fillet open the face and add loft to it, the flattening of the shaft should happen as soon as we start down. So as we start this downswing, what we want to have happening here, you can imagine that if I draw a line from the hosel of my club up through my right elbow, that's my swing plane line, my elbow plane. As I go to the top of the swing, I'm going to be slightly above that. And then as I start down, I want my hands to start to shallow out. I want the club to shallow out inside of this elbow plane. And at the same time,